Out of California comes the high-end audio company Wells Audio with their flagship iteration of the Headtrip Headphone Amplifier. The original Headtrip Level 1 is priced around $7,000, but with all the internal upgrades and flagship performance of this unit, this will set you back $15,000. First and foremost, a special thank you goes out to Jeff from Wells Audio for reaching out to CMA to review this ultra high-end headphone amplifier for review. Shall we begin? So, you pay your money, and the first thing we get is an accessory with this unit, and this is an XLR male-to-male cable connecting the separate power supply to the Headtrip itself. It's roughly about 30 centimeters, so it will give you a good indicator of how far you can have the power supply away from this unit, but I don't foresee this being a difficult scenario to replace, but your space and your mileage may vary. Second of all, we get the separate power supply. This covers both 120 volts and 240 volts, fortunately, so you don't need to worry about regions. And it's nicely built, very well constructed, tight tolerances, the XLR 3-pin out for the connection to go into the amplifier itself. And then finally, we have the AC connection here. And on the front, we have a very tactile clicky switch. And that's it. Then we come to the beast. This thing is a very, very long unit and it's absolutely beautiful. I don't think video can do it justice. First and foremost, on the front of the unit, we have a lock-in mechanism for the 4-pin XLR outs. This outputs 50 watts into 8 ohms and 25 watts into 32 ohms, impedance covering up to 2,000. So your ZMF headphones on Susvaras and stuff will definitely be fine. Then we have a stepped attenuator here. I think this is actually gold point. Full specifications will be running down screen, as you can see. And then we have the 6.3 jack with a lock-in mechanism for the single-ended. Incidentally, impedance up to 2000 ohms is rather fascinating. The highest I've ever seen is 800 ohms, but yeah, that's pretty cool. Then we have a pair of RCA single-ended inputs, a pair of XLR balanced inputs, one lock-in mechanism XLR input for the power supply to connect to the main unit, and that's it. Sides of the unit has got this strange mesh, which this is the least favorite of mine out of the amplifier. It does make it feel a bit DIY-ish. The rest is absolutely beautiful and gorgeous, especially looking at this front. 4 nice feet. And yeah, these sides I'm not really a great fan of, but on top we have all of these vents. And that's it. It's a very simple, very straightforward looking unit. Internally, I think where all the impressive things are happening, such as cryo-treated wiring throughout. I've never heard of this before, but this is fascinating. I thought the only reason you would use cryogenics or cryo is for putting people in suspended animation, but judging by the performance of this unit, maybe it was thrown back in time or something. I genuinely don't know. Then we have state-of-the-art PCBs and resistors. So 19 premium Volsche naked Z-foil resistors in the signal path. This is just the start. I mean, look at some of these. I don't think I even understand what the hell is happening in regards to some of these, to be honest with you. I don't think they spared any expense. Every part that usually costs between 50 and 75 cents, they usually put in amplifiers, seems to cost anywhere between $12 and $40 freaking dollars. So I'm not too surprised that the price has hiked up this high. But for you and me, the basics term of this amplifier is Can it drive whatever headphones I can throw at it, including the RAAL CA-1A? And the answer is there is no headphone on the planet it can't drive. But there are caveats. We will discuss that in a moment. So that's the unit. Simplistic, straightforward, beautifully well designed, definitely aesthetically interesting, but how is it sonically? Because the price category of this is very high and there are only a few amplifiers sitting in this category, such as the AIC-10 Riviera. I am genuinely not used to headphone amplifiers exceeding above the 8 to 10k mark. Now we're in very scary territory. We actually are approaching two-channel system territory now. Talking of two-channel systems, the Headtrip has a monoblock setup for speakers as well. And the thought of getting a pair of those and a Serene and driving Susvaras on a pair of monoblocks like that, the way we did with the AHB2s, review here, just makes me feel giddy. So, before we move on to sound, let me discuss some of the units, headphones, DACs and pre's that have been used with this Headtrip. First and foremost, the DAC and the pre inside the Aperio back there. Second of all, the Rockna WaveDream back there as well. Thank you to Warwick and thank you to Nikolai from Rockna for sending those units in for review. Obviously, the CMA HoloAudio May KTE, the Groove DAC from Wells Audio. Review will be coming somewhere here if it's out before this, and if not, it should be following pretty quickly afterwards. Then obviously the HoloAudio Serene as a pre, the Gold Point stepped attenuator separately, I've tried it as well, the CMA 15 from Questyle. As for headphones, Hifiman Susvaras, the hardest headphones to drive in the planar realm in the world. Then the RAAL CA-1A, and I think genuinely to drive those properly now, the review should be coming for that too. I genuinely believe might be approaching the Susvaras in certain aspects for drivability. And then obviously the usual ZMF line of headphones, Utopia from Valkaria, the Caldera, the Verite Open. So, as you can see, we have not been shy in regards to using equipment with this unit. This unit has been here for 2 months now. It's been thoroughly tested. It's gone through 200-300 hours of testing, and it's been the daily driver at CMA alongside HoloAudio Bliss over there. I can safely say, without a doubt, Headtrip II Level II, except this one is Headtrip III Level II, and all I've been told is that the design, hardware-wise, is different. Internally, they're identical. So if the website has been updated, I believe this is the unit you will be getting. If not, it will be Headtrip II Level II, but internally they're identical. Without a doubt, especially seeing as I've been doing this job professionally now for the last 2.5 years, setting aside the last 23 years of experience, the Headtrip for hard to drive headphones has been the best experience I have ever had for planar and dynamic headphones. It is absolutely unbelievable. It was quite startling finding there is such a category above Bliss and HM1 that resides, and I was kind of shocked because the level of performance you get with this unit is nothing short of astounding. So much so that the monoblock AHB2s have left, and I think this unit might become the CMA reference for testing dynamic and planar headphones. So with that, let's break down the sound quality of the Headtrip II Level II. Starting with the innate sound characteristics of the amplifier itself, I think it sits firmly alongside HoloAudio Serene for tonality, HM1, and a touch of Bliss. So it's liquid sounding, not warm, neutral, yet not analytical. And what really surprised me genuinely was its speed, akin to an energizer like the Z10E over there from LTA with the Hifiman Shangri-La Senior over there. Its dynamics, macro detail, and punch and incisiveness of a truly spectacular high-end solid-state amplifier akin to an HM1 from Zahl. Oh, check out the review for that. It's a two-parter and it's quite a doozy. And most importantly, its holographic nature, textural information and presentation is akin to tubes. Combining all of these three characteristics makes the Headtrip III Level II the best solid-state amp I have ever heard for a planar or a dynamic headphone. The levels of increasability for the drivers of something like a Verite open over there somewhere was unbelievable. I never believed the ZMF headphones had so much headroom in them until I threw it on this. Visceral impact, stage, layering, textural information could only be gotten with those headphones with tube amplifiers. And to have a solid-state amplifier that makes you go from a Z10E tube energizer back to the Headtrip and go, okay, I'm going to stay here for a bit, and not go back to tubes immediately. Those of you who are tube lovers will know exactly what I mean when I'm talking about going from tubes to back to solid state, was one of the most shocking experiences I think I've had on this amplifier, genuinely. The second one being the RAAL CA-1A. Now, I felt as though the HM1, the Bliss, and some of the other amplifiers, like the Canon HA300 Mark IIs, I thought drove them pretty spectacularly. I thought the AHB2 from Benchmark drove it very well. But it was nothing to the unleashing of performance when I put it on the Headtrip. Its holographic stage, its detail retrieval, its slam, impact and punch, macro detail, textural information, and most importantly, musicality and realism has set Headtrip apart from every other solid-state amplifier that has entered CMA for assessment and for testing. I just got the Sigphrid from Spirit Torino over there with the Valkarias. I think that is more closer in performance now to a Headtrip than it is to, for example, a Bliss. I feel as though HM1 sits in a category of its own where it's so reference sounding. I never found it too pleasing personally, and I found it that sometimes it could be a little anemic, but that's just subjectively my experience in regards to it. I preferred Bliss, but the Headtrip's tonal density and its ability to convey information in an organic manner without it being too much in your face, and drawing from, for example, the N-Looms 23R's holographic nature and detail retrieval was basically where I wanted to be. It's basically a HoloAudio serene headphone amplifier, just taken up by so many points that it's not even comparable. I love this unit. It's absolutely spectacular. It's texturally rich. Its innate characteristics for vocals to bring real life onto your desk was very, very convincing. But I don't think I've been as shocked by the levels of the CA-1A's performance on this unit. The review for that will be shot after this one, actually, incidentally, was quite spectacular. It doesn't feel as though it's struggling with anything when it comes to hard to drive headphones. I mean, a Susvara or a Mod House Tungsten, oh, you need to wait for that headphone. That's gonna be spectacular. At quarter of the pot's volume was making Tungsten sing like a bird. And Bliss was struggling, and HM1 crapped itself. And to be honest with you, those headphones are like impedance, I believe, at the time while it was being built, was like 130 to 180 ohms and 74 dB sensitivity, I think the last time it was measured. But obviously that's been fixed, and it's under progress, obviously, so the latest one will be a lot more easier to drive. But even with that headphone that was twice as hard as Susvara to drive, I think, or close to it, was not even a struggle with this amplifier. But I did mention hard to drive headphones for a specific reason. And there is a reason why I've not mentioned IEMs yet. And that is because with sensitive headphones such as a Utopia, anything, to be honest, from a ZMF Verite open down, anything that exceeds 95 or 92 dB sensitivity, you get a background hiss. The noise floor is high on this unit for such headphones. I mean, when you turn up the music, you still get the most incredible technicality and performance and just unleashing those drivers and pushing them to the absolute limits. But there is a noise floor. Bear that in mind. This is incidentally a power amp in a headphone environment. Susvara's 1266, Dan Clark Stealth, Mod House Tungsten, Diana V2. These headphones will not be problematic. I think even Aria V2, to be honest with you, from Hifiman, etc. Those headphones are not a problem. This is that territory of amplification. Things like Stelia, Utopia, and those beautiful, incredible Camertons, no. The performance is there, I use it all the time, but when you stop the music, you do get that hiss, the way you do on tubes. So bear that in mind. Do I still recommend this amplifier for such headphones? Yes and no. I mean, it's a lot of money to spend for that kind of background hiss for those headphones, but if you're in the territory of Susvara's, I think you're going to be very happy. This is without a doubt the best solid state amp that has entered CMA. And we have experienced and reviewed quite a lot of true high-end products. The other caveat being, for sensitive headphones, the pot, it might be just this one and it might have gotten damaged, unfortunately, in shipping. We can't quite tell yet. Is that the audio is very left-leaning or right-leaning when the headphones are very sensitive, and as you're going up in volume, then you find the headphones balancing themselves out, but not with the very hard to drive headphones. So there is something there to be tested even more. Another unit is coming, which is going to be the CMA main unit, and I'll do a comparable comparison. This one is going off to the next reviewer after myself. So that other thing to bear in mind as well. This is a review unit. Sometimes they go through very rough treatment, especially in travel, unfortunately, so you gotta bear that in mind. But otherwise, this thing's been spectacular. It's one of them amplifiers that surprises me every single time I put a new headphones on it. It's never been something that just blends into the background. A lot of amplifiers ends up being that, but not this. It's a surprising performance. Stage is huge. But before we get onto that, let's break down the frequency response the way we do here. For the first time, I can safely say this is comparable to the visceral impact and depth and attack of a monoblock AHB2. This has more musicality, more textural information, and a consistent 20 Hz subcategory for that area of the frequency response for Hifiman Susvara's without it feeling as though the amplifier is struggling. Mid-bass is extraordinarily punchy, visceral, and incredible attack. Upper mid-range never feels as though it's thin, it's always supporting the treble region. Mid-range from the low to the mid to the highs is linear, transparent, highly resolving, and extremely detailed in an organic way the way tubes are. Treble region seems to be smooth, articulate, textural, rich, without it being fatiguing. It's a perfect balance of performance, tonality, and information. Well done, Wells Audio. Well done, Jeff. Well done, team. The way this amplifier retrieves and recreates digital to analog and then enhances that analog once we throw it from the DAC has been nothing short of mesmerizing. And I think the only amplifier that can compete with it in this category is the Riviera AIC10. Hopefully I can do a shootout for you guys if I can get hold of that unit. But this does exceed HM1. This does exceed Bliss by quite a lot. This does exceed Sigphrid. This does exceed the monoblock AHB2. If you've got any questions in regards to this amplifier, put it in the comment section. I'll do my best to respond. In conclusion, should you buy this? I mean, if you can afford it, yes. If you've got hard to drive headphones, yes. If you're thinking of throwing IEMs on there, unless it's one of that crazy IEM called again, the P1, no. If you've got sensitive headphones, bear in mind you're going to get background noise floor. Otherwise, for Susvara's 1266 Stealth, Expanse, RAAL CA-1A, etc., if you're in that category of headphones, the performance of this unit will blow your mind. In conclusion, genuinely, for this category of headphones, this is a 5 Tiger scoring sonically. I give the design and the hardware externally 4 Tigers, internally 5 Tigers, and with the caveats of sensitive headphones and IEMs between 3 and 4 Tigers, because it really is noisy for those kinds of scenarios. It's too powerful. This thing's a beast. So bear that in mind. This has been one of my favorite experiences in regards to amplifiers on the channel. Thank you again, Jeff. This has been incredible. And if you like reviews such as these, consider joining Patreon, where you get my thoughts and feelings as we are learning the process of amplifiers, DACs, IEMs, headphones, etc. And in our private Telegram chat, where you get access to, we respond via voice and usually carry on the conversation as soon as something lands for review. Until the next one.